Hi, namaskar, and welcome to Indic Talk about our book, The Buddha and the Bitch, Two Women, Two Worlds, One Practice. It has been published by Hay House and has just got out in the markets, and it has been written by me, I'm Rashma, and my co-author Phoebe, and she's flown in all the way from Cincinnati to be here to promote the book. And yeah, there's been a little controversy around the title. Some people found it offensive, but to them and to everyone, I want to say that the cover also has a subtitle: Two Women, Two Worlds, One Practice. Please also consider that when you read the title, when you read the cover. And just to kind of explain the title, the terms Buddha and bitch have been used as a literary device to kind of juxtapose two approaches to life, arts, and the way you live. So, and with now Buddha, or let's say Phoebe, will take you over how we're going to conduct this session. And thank you for joining us. Yes.
I'm glad to have opportunity to be here especially after, what was it, 15, 16 hours of 2 plane rides. But I'm lucky to be able to do it. Grateful. Just to let you know, we're going to talk for a little bit, and then, but you're welcome to post comments or questions anytime they come up along the way.
And they're saying hello. I can see that. Hi,
okay,
everyone.
Hi.
Yes.
I'm seeing some people. Cherry, Ruth Ann. Right, there's people I don't know.
Thank you for being here, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
We appreciate it.
Some of you with not a lot of notice, and some of you with more. But anyway, on to the story. Thank you.
Yeah. So I want to, at the outset, thank Indic Academy and Indic Book Club for making this conversation possible. Without them, it wasn't going to be possible. And also the media partners, Indic Today. And now just a little something about who we are. I know some of you know us, but we're not celebrities yet, though we don't think we're any less. So I'm Rashma, and I'm a full-time writer. I write stories, articles. I've written a book with Phil Cherry, Oh Gods Are Online. And this is my 3rd book. But on most days, I'm a playwright, and my heart is in writing drama. I've worked in India and Australia, and some of my plays have been performed across a few cities in Australia, and I've got critical reviews, good reviews, maybe not so good reviews sometimes, and audience applause. And we've got some premiere nominations, awards, but that's just to say that I've been working seriously writing for stage for a few decades, or 2 decades around that time. And Phoebe is a poet, so she'll tell you something about herself.
Well, poetry is my passion. With working on the Buddha and the Bitch for, well, really, the whole process took nearly 5 years. But I did write some poems in between there, some short ones. But I'm a retired librarian at a public library, reference librarian at a public library. And there's a saying, like, you should do what you love, like, especially you get paid for a job that you can be paid for, a vocation. And so, while I did enjoy the library, don't get me wrong. When I retired, shortly after I retired, I started teaching creative writing classes on Thursday mornings at Women Writing for Change. And what that is, it's in Cincinnati. It's also some other cities. Right now, it's still United States. But it's a nonprofit school, and there is a co-ed class, and there are some things for men and women, just to clarify. But it focuses on women, adult women, and girls and teenagers. But those classes, the saying, I don't think I told you the saying. The saying is, do what you love. And in my retirement, I'm really doing what I love, facilitating classes of adult women, sharing their words and, just anything about their life. Some are writing mythological stories or science fiction. Some are writing. I've had a few plays. all different kinds of things. But the processes work no matter what form of writing you're doing. So it's just really an honor to be able to do that and get paid. So that's not bad. And as far as my background, although poetry is my passion, I've only self-published, so that's a goal to do in the near future, to be acknowledged by a poetry publisher. But I did, my first trip to India was in 2008, and I went with just a few other people, a guide that wanted to go back. And two of us went with her, and Maria took wonderful photographs. She had a really nice camera, took wonderful photographs of our trip. And Bev Bowers of Women's Way was very supportive of us and said we should publish a book, and we did. And it was a small, kind of a small coffee table type book. But what we did, we used those beautiful photographs as writing prompts and to do the first draft of the book. And the only other thing I did was I was one of 3 people that wrote history of a bookstore in the 80s, and the bookstore in the late 70s, 80s, 90s, a bookstore and an alternative community around the bookstore. So both have been nonfiction.
Right.
And sometimes I forget, The Buddha and the Bitch is actually nonfiction, though we like to think it reads like a novel. But you tell us.
There's a story, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
no, we hope that's our aim. Okay, take it
right
away.
Yes. So I want to just add that I've been Phoebe's student, so she was my teacher. She online classes, and she's pretty incredible. She brings out the best in you. So yeah.
Oh, we gotta inactive for a while. Oh, we gotta. They stopped it. Stay focused. Okay, we're back. Technological.
Sorry, yeah. So, but then this is how we met. Since you can see that I'm in India and Melbourne, and Phoebe was in Cincinnati. So how did these 2 people, and I'm not even a poet, how did we meet? How did we, so the story around it is pretty cosmic. I have a friend, a childhood buddy, Sonia, and she's an accounting person. She went to the US to do a PhD in accounts, and then she went city hopping, one university to another as a teacher. And finally she landed in a university which is close to where Phoebe lives. And one fine evening, the 2 ladies, that is Sonia and Phoebe, happened to attend the same music concert. Can you believe that? It's as random and cosmic as that. 2 strangers at a music concert listening to some music, and that's how it started. So Phoebe, can you tell them about that evening?
Right. So this was kind of a coffee house restaurant type of place. And ironically, I don't know who was playing music at this point, but I was sitting with a large group of people at a table, and Sonia was too. Evidently, we knew a few people in common, though we didn't know each other yet. And so there was an intermission, and I walked over to her as a stranger, and I said, "Do you mind telling me where you're from?" And luckily, I found out later, she's a very bold, honest person, and
older than most. Yes.
Yes, and she didn't think that was weird. And she said, "I'm from India." I said, "Yes." I said, I was very excited.
You're such an Indophile, yeah.
I'm an Indophile. I have some karmic connection with India since this is my 3rd trip here.
Yeah.
But in what, 10 years?
In 10 years.
That's pretty good. But I said, so I told her I had been to India not very many years before and got to Varanasi. Anyway, we clicked, sometimes you click with people right away, and we did. And so sometime later in the future, maybe we probably exchanged emails and saw each other occasionally at events. But one time she emailed me and said, "I have this friend, Rashma," first time I heard her name. "I have this friend, Rashma, that I went to school with, and she's very serious about writing." I remember those words exactly. That was gives me chills here. She's very serious about writing, and she's written a 1-act play.
Yeah.
And would you, since you teach and facilitate writing, can I give her your email so she can send you her? It's just a 1-act play.
Yes,
it's not very long.
It's not long.
And would you give her some feedback? Okay, as a favor to you. And little did I know what I was getting in for. That was the beginning.
Yes, that was the
Across
beginning.
the internet. Yes.
So it was one thing for Phoebe to meet Sonia, but and yet another thing for me to know that Sonia knows Phoebe, and that happened on Facebook, right? She posted a picture of hers at a thing called Friday Salon in Cincinnati, and she's hanging around with writers and artists. And I went to her and say, hey, what are you doing with all the writers and artists? You're an accounting professor. They're my bunch of people. I want to be with them. So you better introduce me to someone. I mean, you're my childhood buddy, and you better help me get on to and connect to other people. And she said, oh, there are some writing teachers. I said, teacher, for heaven's sake, that's what I need in life. I'm kind of lost. I have a play that time it was The Lost Dog. I said, The Lost Dog, and I want to take it for public reading. So can someone give it a read? And that's how we were introduced. And yeah, but Phoebe can tell you what Friday Salons are all about. They're crazy and nice, yeah.
So sometimes we still have them, but for that time, they were at least every month. And they were held. They were organized by Women's Way, Bev Bowers, the director in particular. And they were once a month, occasionally twice a month, and they were held at Women Writing for a Change. That organization has an entire building, and they wanted to encourage, especially women artists of all kinds, to use the space so it wouldn't sit empty after having this capital campaign and buying this building. So they were very supportive. We would pass a hat or a basket, do you know the expression, to take donations. But what we would do, people would say, oh, I know a really interesting person that could tell us about so-and-so. They were all different topics, sometimes writing, sometimes any topic. Someone locally that could get there physically. Though later, Rajna did make a trip.
I made a trip and actually talked at
any key.
And I actually did a talk at Friday Salon, so it's kind of
a year later.
A year later, so it's like coming a full circle.
Yeah. So so someone will, a speaker will do a kind of a short talk or a half-hour talk or so on the topic. We'll take a break and go get food in the kitchen. It'll be potluck and eat and drink and have this camaraderie comes about.
It's amazing.
And then we'll discuss. And sometimes there's actually time to have an open mic or to write together, do fast or free writes as a group. Depends how many people there are and how long the talk is. But it's very uniting.
Yeah, and I would strongly suggest that we have more of those Friday Salon kind of arrangements for writers and artists all over the world, because not only do they encourage people to write, they also bring people who don't want to write but just want to be around and want to listen and imbibe and bring.
And writers definitely need readers.
Oh, writers need readers, it brings readers
and
together.
Supporters and listeners. So it all works.
So coming back to our story, so I was introduced and we had some email exchanges, and I became a student, but it was very formal, very distant. And then, one day I plugged up courage and I sent a text chat, those Google text chats. Yes, I sent some hi or something like that to Phoebe, and she responded, and we started talking. And as time passed, and when I say time here, I don't mean days, I don't mean weeks, I mean months. We started talking more and more, and our text chats would just meander from one thing, from let's say spirituality, about meditation, about life, about writing, about arts, and being stuck in relationships, and what love is like, and what sexuality is like, and whole broad range. And I said to Phoebe, when I go back to these chats, because you can go back to them and read what you wrote and spoke about then, I feel there's juice there. There's a book in there. That's what I said, I think, right? So
you get the credit.
Yeah. So we thought that it's a good idea to put the book together, right?
Right. And it was Rajma's idea initially, and I said, if this ever becomes a book, your name should be first. And so it is.
Thank you.
And so it is. It seemed only fair.
Yes. And so then I urged Phoebe. I had written a book with another co-author in Phil Cherry, that is. He was in England, stationed in England, but we didn't meet. So this time I told Phoebe we will do it differently because it'll become faster and more structured, and this is going to be a non-fiction book. And I urged her to come down to India, and she's such an Indophile and an adventure woman, so she flew down, and we decided to have a backdrop, in a very romantic and adventurous way. We said we'd go down to Pondicherry, which is kind of a French town in India, and write a book there, see what we have in our charts and put them together. So that's what we did. And
hadn't you been there, just a side note, or gone through, you really liked, you had been there once before, you liked
yeah,
your husband
I had
and you
been
on
there,
your
yes.
honeymoon or early on?
No, not honeymoon,
Not
just with the family. And
liked it, and plus you like coconut a lot.
Yes,
yeah,
I love South Indian food, yes.
So it's like, sure, it'll be new to me, I'll go anywhere. Yeah.
So we did that, and when we were together, traveling and living in the hotel, we realized how different we were. I mean, we as diverse as two friends can be. She tends to be a little laid back, and maybe it's the poet in her.
It's all relative.
It's all relative, and I'm kind of go-getter, anxious, and I must have what I'm chasing. So we did have difficulties being together, writing, getting the book down. And if writing was difficult, I can tell you, submission was an ordeal. We were rejected by every other publisher, we must admit that, for the sake of other people. So we were rejected by agents, and we submitted for 2 years in the US and in India. And then finally we reached a point where this book, which had brought us together, which was binding us for years, became a point of strain. It kind of, maybe we were fighting. We were like, blame game, maybe you did right, or maybe you
thought I was being lazy.
Yeah, I always thought you was being lazy.
Thought I was I'm too busy with my friends.
Yeah, doing with their friends and doing things you shouldn't be doing as a serious writer.
I'm not as serious, and I wasn't really, honestly.
So yes,
you're right, partly.
So then the blame game started, and we said, okay, this is not right. Friendship is more important than, what we started out with is more important than the book. So we just let the book be, and we went our ways, and I had to go to Melbourne because I play Melbourne Talam. I see some people from Melbourne here, so it was being done by MTC.
Do you know that? No, for an Australian, just in case you're not.
Yes.
Not there's a Melbourne, Florida.
Yeah, there's no one. There is a Melbourne in US, I think,
yes. But
this is Melbourne, Australia, and this play was done by MTC. And so all my energies and time went into writing and working on that play, and it was most in Australia. And we kind of paused the book, but and that gave us time to think about it. And that's when Phoebe had her own experiences.
Well, first I thought, oh, good, I get a little break.
Break from the
That's the layback or lazy Buddha. I thought, good, maybe we do need a break. Nothing's happening. It's kind of static right now. We'll just let it sit. Well, what happened, and sometimes the universe brings you things you have no idea what's going to, we like to think we know, but we don't. And so what happened to me early, spring of 2015, I found out, I had chest pains, and I found out, well, I was on the verge of a heart attack. I didn't have one, luckily. But I found out I needed open heart surgery. And here my family, the Beiser family, has heart disease in our genetics. But here I thought, I'm mostly vegetarian. I eat better than most of my friends back then.
Yeah.
I eat better than most people I know. I work out. I mean, I can conquer this disease. Well, I couldn't. So I had open heart surgery, and the good thing that you say, what good could come out of something that could be really, it was a big, I wouldn't have chosen to have open heart surgery, but what good came out of it was that, well, my parents are both gone. One of my biological sisters really was there for me a lot, and a couple friends. But what happened, I was ready to be released from the hospital after a week, which is pretty quickly they get you out of there. And I didn't want to go to a rehab place. I wanted to go home to my dogs, my place in nature, and just be comfortable at my own place. And so what made it possible was some friends got together and set up a schedule, and well, for the first couple nights, people had to stay with me. But then after that, there was something online, luckily, because it was hard to manage in here. It was on pain pills, and I couldn't handle it. But there was something online, And people would sign up to bring me meal. I'll bring you a meal on Wednesday. I'll come walk your dogs and get your mail across the road. It was snowy time. I was literally medically not allowed to leave the house. I was captive in the house, at least the first month. I couldn't go outside because I could easily slip and fall and break open the sternum. I mean, it was that risky, even though it was frustrating. So people, I would come, have company, they'd bring lunch, we'd eat lunch together. A couple people would, vacuum. Well, a couple did laundry, do a little laundry and vacuum and all these basic things you take for granted until something happens and you can't do them for hopefully a short amount of time. So what I'm happy to say, a lot of the women that helped me, mostly women, but a lot of them, majority of them, were women from classes in either my class or classes I've been in at Women Writing for Change. And it just shows that how much writing can connect, especially if you're writing personal story, stuff from your life, how much writing can connect. And some of us became friends in our own little community, and they really were there for me.
Yeah. And I must admit here that I was such a bitch, all along I've been accusing her. All you do is goof up with friends. All you want to do is socialize. Why don't you just write the book? Why don't you focus on your poetry? So only when this happened to her, I realized that
you saw it on Facebook.
Yes, I saw it on Facebook. And I saw, oh my God, this whole support system, whole community support system, which we in our individualistic lives these days, in our urban lives, we discard. And but that's so important for people, right? So I kind of, it was a realization for me. And by this time, we had been away from the book for a year or something.
That's a year.
Yeah,
probably.
And then, chance and cosmic thing, whatever you call it, I just randomly happened to meet a contact in Hay House. And it was just random. I did not know this person from before.
Cosmic or karmic?
Karmic, yes.
Whatever you want to call it.
So I told this person, can you connect me to the editor? I wanted to know. We had submitted to Hay House initially and they rejected us. I wanted to just know what was not right. And I was connected.
That's bold.
Yes. And then, And then the editor got back to me on the mail and she said, well, it's fine. Your story is good and it's unique. It's different, but it's unstructured. You just need to structure it, maybe consider rewriting and resubmit. And that gave us a new lease of life, and we kind of decided to rewrite. And we had been away from the book. We've had different experiences. So we kind of just took on from there and started rewriting. And here I want to say that, well, there are a lot of people out there who think that, you do the first thing and it should be accepted. That doesn't work.
Not very often.
Most of the time it doesn't. You have to go through drafts, and rewriting and making new drafts is a good thing, because that's how you add layers to your work, and that's how it becomes deeper and at times wider, and it gets a different perspective. So I would encourage you to kind of be open to all kinds of feedback.
And I would just add to that, what occurred to me, also rewriting, you might think, oh, this is kind of a drag, I'm so sick of this chapter or this story. But writing or looking at something again and with the openness to rewrite, you can remember some things that you didn't before.
Okay.
And as I'm 20 years older than her, so maybe I've had more practice. But sometimes I'll think, oh yeah, I forgot about that detail or something. But you have to just sit with something and be with it to even have that show up, to remind you.
Exactly. So when we started rewriting, there was a shift in the story, because we took out our chat, which we thought was very smart initially, and we started blending it into the narrative. When we did that and we expanded the story to the present time, we realized that it became the story of our friendship, of our journey in writing, and also about the conflicts that we had, right?
And Jerry, you had mentioned when we talked before that a journey within a journey.
Yes, it's a journey within a journey, yes.
Literally the traveling, and the journey of getting to know each other, and the writing, all that.
And when you read about our struggles and our conflicts, and challenges, you realize, especially if you're a wannabe an artist or a writer, you realize that it's not easy. And in a way, it sets expectations right, because especially in India, I see everyone wants to be a writer and everyone wants to be famous.
Immediately.
Immediately.
In the US. In the US.
In the US, yes, yes. Everyone wants to be a star writer, a best-selling writer. But you see, there are two races, there are two different roads. The paths to success and fame is different from the path to becoming a better writer. So you have to decide for yourself, which race are you running? Do you want to run this race of becoming rich and famous, which is kind of delusional, or you want to just become a better writer with practice and working on craft? So
or that reminds me, a sprint or a marathon. And usually it's a marathon. So you better tell a story that really moves you and has passion, because you're probably going to be stuck with it for a while.
And don't go after trends. You know that there's a Twilight trend and there's some other trend. And in India we had those love story trends. It doesn't work. Tell this story that you truly feel about and work on themes that you
that means something to you.
Yes, which you connect to with deeply. And if you want to run that marathon, you have to be committed for years and days. Of course, there's nothing. Days just melt. They just fly by, right? So so this is what kind of, I think we set the expectations right for wannabe writers and artists by, in that book.
So how many drafts do you do?
So I do, yes. Talking about, I might do at least 40 to 50 drafts of plays, and sometimes it's a rewrite, and it helps you kind of, and I go for feedback, I listen to feedback. At times I'm like, oh, no, you don't understand. But then when you go back and think, I say, oh yeah, it makes sense. Especially if you're in performing arts, actors are the people who have to carry it off. They are almost always right, and the things that they bring to the table, and I think we can all learn from the community. It's not as individualistic as it is made out to be, right? And of course, as the book is also a travelogue, it takes you to Pondicherry, it takes you to Auroville, it takes you to Taj Mahal, Mahabalipuram, so you get glimpses of places out there and the experiences we had during that journey. So, and some of them were quite humorous. I mean, you just only have to imagine an American who doesn't know Hindi, an American tourist.
And some people think I'm elderly.
And some people think she's
at least senior, though in the United States we say, we hope to believe 60 is the new 40.
Exactly.
At times I have to believe that, other times I don't.
They think that she's elderly, which she's not, and she doesn't believe she is. So you had this curious Indian onlookers treating her in a certain way, and what she is. And then we had all kinds of experiences, like this overzealous man who ran with a wheelchair to help her and take her around Taj Mahal. And I'm like, yeah, she's standing, she's walking fine, and she believes she has a romantic life ahead of her, and you want her to be in a wheelchair. What's wrong with you?
He was desperate for some
tip, maybe.
Tip that day.
Yeah, and it just the book has humorous and funny episodes, which we think you're going to really enjoy going over them, right? And
we were going to say something about a little bit more about the attitude, the bit in the Buddha, why that there are different attitudes, in general, different attitudes.
That's what the book is about too, of course. As the title suggests, that there's two women with two perspectives, and the paths they follow, and maybe it's best for one and not too good for another to follow that path. And at the end of the day, I would say it's an inspiring story. And we all need inspiration in life, because most of the time life is such a bitch, and we're all down in the dumps. So, you need that inspiration. And when you read a feel-good story, when you read something which kind of reignites your faith in life, in mankind, it rekindles, your desire to follow your dreams. So, and it's also a story of friendship. See, I've always complained that there are hardly any stories, books, and movies about women friendship. You have all kinds of movies. In Bollywood, is full of movies about male mateship, You know, you have Amitabh Bachchan and Shashi Kapoor kind of movies in the 80s and 70s, and the Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, December Boys in Australia. They're all about male and men mateship. What about women friendship? You know, so those stories are missing. So here's a story which is feel good, which will make you believe in the bounty of nature, and yeah, and inspire you to live, love, make friends, and yeah,
And
do
be
your own
bold,
thing.
be bold, thanks
Be
to
bold.
Sonia. I mean, Sonia's example.
Yeah.
And we hope that anybody, especially women, writing alone, isolated, because you were isolated
Yes.
there for quite a while. Isolated writing, not like Emily Dickinson in her attic, but, you know, to that extreme, but isolated writing, and who cares, and this is too hard, so many people give up, but that our story in that way will be inspiring for writers, especially women writers out on their own that don't know, you know, what they're going to do with this raw material yet. Yeah, so the other, one thing I wanted to mention was a friend or two that have read the book already told me that something that stood out for them, two different people mentioned this, but something stood out was how interesting the way the book was arranged. That, for example, we're at Mahabalipuram, and for those that don't know, it's a World Heritage Site in South India. And we went there, and Rajma has a chapter, and I have a chapter. So you get different perspectives from, had you been there before? No.
Yeah.
Yes, you have been there before. You're Indian, you know about it. And to me, like, what is this? I had to look at guidebook and just experience it myself. And so it was quite some, I mean, there were some similarities, but different experiences coming from our different perspectives.
Yeah. So, guys, the Amazon link to the book, both the Amazon India and Amazon.com link to the book is right here on the screen. As you can see it in my initial comments. So
and for those who live, I'll say locally, because I am in Gurgaon right now, that can, Friday, June the 4th, is it? I think it's next Friday.
Yes, it's next Friday.
Next Friday at 7 p.m. we have a talk in person at the Habitat Center, and Professor
Gupta, Bharat Gupta, he's a classicist.
Will moderate, so I'm a little nervous about that.
Yes.
A famous professor. We'll moderate our talk, and of course we'll have books and sign them, and we'd love to meet those of you that are in the area that have 7 to 9 available next Friday. That would be exciting.
Yes, and we look forward to your comments and any questions that are coming up our way. Well, are there people who ask you any questions when you know, your friends and people had been talking to you, have reviewed the book?
I mean, some people are say, the question of how did we even meet and become friendly and know so much about each other's lives, and Google Chat. I mean, it'd be morning in for me and evening for you, even to get our schedule. When you're in Australia, it was even more
crazy.
extreme.
Yes.
But just real supportive, and writing was the main key, the main
connection. Yes,
the main connection. But I know here we go again. But you would ask what's going on in my life.
There's a question: when will the book be turned into a play? We're hoping it will be turned into a Hollywood movie.
Hollywood.
So please, guys, help us reach agents in Hollywood.
We would have to have a famous Bollywood actress,
Hollywood actress,
Hollywood and Bollywood.
Yeah,
to play you.
Yeah.
So who knows? But a play, you could work on that.
Maybe, I don't know.
When you're kind of busy.
Like
did you say what you're working on?
Yeah, I'm working on a play which is a political satire, and it'll be in Delhi soon, in the month of July. So that's something which is happening. A movie, yes, that's right. We want
a movie. So we're thinking movie, but plays, right? Just down
Dreamcast.
Who's
your Dreamcast? Aishwarya Rai to play me.
Who could play me?
I don't know. Julia Roberts.
No. She's
oversubscribed.
I don't know. Yeah, she's
we leave it to the director. I said
Katy Perry. No, I'm just kidding. She's been here too.
Gurinder Chadha or maybe an international film, Gurinder Chadha to direct it, and
hey, there you go. Well, one can only dream, and it does begin with a dream. I mean, I have this book was far-fetched. A couple of years, we were like, kind of like,
Okay, what are the challenges and advantages of co-authoring? Oh, there's so many.
oh boy, she's a bitch.
Yeah, so that's one
She would
challenge.
call herself that.
And yeah, but then I can tell you what the advantages. Since it happens to be such a lonely job, so having someone else to talk to and bounce it off is a good thing, and it broadens
To
your
share the
perspective.
pain
Yeah,
and
share the pain
joy.
and the joy
Mostly
is one
pain.
thing.
Mostly pain along the way.
Yes. And then it just broadens your perspective, because as one individual you tend to think in a certain way. So when two people come into picture, there's more happening. And I can tell you that even in the other book, the Oh Gods Are Online, I wrote with an English author who's a male. So it brought that gender thing, you know, the male voice and the female voice, and blending of the narratives, and it became more interesting. I think it becomes more colorful and holistic. So,
Because of the different perspectives and ideas. You can share the ideas. You share the joy at the end. Like, wow, we
and
have
it
a
grows.
function.
I think co-authoring makes it grow.
The synthesis of the
Yes.
two
Yeah.
ideas and
It's like two people playing two different musical instruments, and then the music
oh,
becomes
yeah.
more beautiful.
Oh, I love that.
I think,
I love that.
yeah. So
Maybe we'll be a concert.
oh, we have a director who's interested in being part of this play. Thank you.
There you go. Where do you
Thank you.
live? In
He's in
India or
Mumbai.
Australia?
He's in
Mumbai.
Mumbai.
That's not too far. So
Yeah.
plane right away.
Yeah, thank
All
you.
right,
Thank
we're
you.
gonna hold you to that.
Yeah. Yes. So yes, there are many advantages of co-authoring.
Ruth Ann and Sissy. Oh, Sue. I know a couple people here. What else? Any questions? A few of you I know have read this book. What a movie would be a great idea. That's what I'm thinking. But you think
because it's a
plays,
travel, yeah. But I think it's a travel movie.
and then
Yes.
yeah, they can go
It's
to
a good
these
setting.
sites. I don't know U.S. person, but you've got ideas for the Indian woman.
Yeah.
And I think we should be advisors. We wrote the book after all. We should go on the set and meet these famous people.
Yeah.
And
yes, I want to just kind of add to one more thing, which is that when you are seeking out as an artist, it's good to be open to other arts. You know,
like say more.
Yeah, like playwright and poet. You know, it's a jugalbandi.
Yeah.
You know, it's like tabla and sitar. So it just brings in more elements. I think, and especially when you are writing for stage, it's very different. Something called Judi Dench.
Judi Dench, British actress. She's great. She's great.
To play you.
She
Wow,
did theater. Oh, I love it. Yes, good idea, Ruth Ann. And yeah, she's Dame Judi Dench.
Yeah.
She's become a dame by the Queen, I guess, and of England. And something about her. Yeah, and say I don't know if you know what was the movie? I'm blanking.
Eat, Pray, Love.
No, I can't think of them. It was very popular.
So, any sequel planned for the book?
We'll let you know.
We'll let you know.
Well, so you can follow. If you don't already, follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
Yes.
And what else? I'm gonna say something. Oh, that this video is going to be saved?
Yes, it'll be on YouTube, and we will be able to share the link
through the Indic
chat, Indic Talks, and Indic Academy.
Or Indic Talks.
Yes.
Yeah. So I know there's some people the time frame. They're busy on Saturdays, afternoon, morning or night, depending which time zone. So it will be preserved.
Oh, somebody told us you should submit to Joe Films. Oh, we have an idea. Thank you. We'll do that.
Okay.
I believe this book is
movie.
Yeah,
thank you. Really?
Yes, I think so too. I told you.
I could see it, especially when we were traveling, and especially the traveling. It might be a little hard to show us riding back and forth. They do that very short. But that's
the screenplay.
Yeah.
Consolidate so your favorite authors. Who's your favorite?
Boy.
Yeah. Before I can tell you about all the playwrights.
Okay.
Playwrights. I love plays. I love drama. So it's Harold Pinto, Simon Stephens, Carol Churchill, and Tennessee Williams, and of course Samuel Beckett. And I like all theater were absurd. And of course Chekhov is a great humanist. And Shakespeare, some of his plays I like. I'm not such a huge fan. And Kalidas, he's and Sanskrit playwright, and Bhasa, who's a Sanskrit playwright. He's written some great plays, and I love satires. So George Orwell, his novels are the perfect satires, I think. And
wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I'm like blanking. I mean, poets, Mary Oliver, Ellen Bass, so many poets. I love discovering new poets and younger modern poets that are out there. So subscribe to Poetry a Day, a poem a day, to get to know some new people. I like most modern women novelists, especially if they talk about relationships, very in-depth, kind of rich relation. I mean, it doesn't have to be romantic, any kind, but really personal stories.
Yeah. Okay. I like drama, and so Edward Albee writes great drama. So there's plenty.
So you're big. The drama is what you read in your spare time, even?
Yeah.
You're fanatic.
Oh, yeah.
You're fanatic. You're passionate. The word is passionate. Some would say fanatical, others would say passionate.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. Anything else? Your favorite authors? Bev is using Sue's. Is a movie. So movies come up a lot.
Yeah.
Play, but why not? Well, whatever. Just so I can go on the set in a few days. That's all I am. Well, royalties. We did sign in our contract royalties. I mean, permission to, that is an option.
Rights.
Films and options. I don't know. Did they have plays? I guess we could just do that. They did mention films. Yeah, but you just never know. Like For Love and other things. Who would have guessed that one woman's personal story?
So I think there are no more questions. We are done, and thank you everyone for joining us.
Any sequel planned?
No, we said we do not yet.
No,
we'll keep it. Yes.
Not yet. Still, we want to sell some copies first.
Yeah, we want to sell some copies first.
And,
please help us reach out to your friends and networks. And I can tell you that you'll not be disappointed reading the story. It'll inspire you to just go ahead and even trust strangers. We have so much stranger anxiety going on these days. Time of the event in Habitat is 7 p.m., 4th of June, which is a Friday. And it's at Gulmohar. How to buy it here? We have an Amazon link, Amazon.com.
Amazon, India and US. Both.
Yes, so the Amazon.com link up there in the comments.
The bookstores are here or ordering. Do some have?
Bookstores. Most bookstores will have it in India, especially the northern region. It's been shipped. So Midland has it. Om Bookstores has it, and Crossword has ordered it as well, and some smaller bookstores. So if you're in India, please go to a bookstore and buy it.
And tell them they must replace it.
To order more copies. Thank you for the best wishes, Anuradha and others. Yes. And we wish you all the very best. So stay connected.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Again, it will be preserved no matter what. Yeah. Our words will be preserved published in a different form. Film, video, not film.
We're happy to come and give talks. If in your town you have a bunch of writers,
I'm here till the 6th. I leave on the 6th.
6th or 7th.
Week,
So anyone in the NCR or anywhere else in India is looking for a poetry workshop, motivational talk, please get in touch. We'll be happy to come down and just pep you up.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you.
Perfect. Bye. Peace. Oh, wait.